Welcome to this course on monetization. My name is Alex Ginedinik and I'll be your instructor. In this video, I'll briefly tell you what to expect from the course, how it's going to go, a little bit about my background, and we'll start right away. Well, in this course, you'll learn about different pricing strategies, monetization strategies, how to make the most money in the short term and the long term while keeping clients happy. We're also going to talk about pricing and various monetization models that are common. The course is meant to be taken in under one day, I would say in under 1 or 2 hours, so that you can get that information and quickly begin applying the strategies to your business today. It's not a long marathon course. It's meant to be actionable and immediately applicable. Regarding my background in this, I have 20 years of professional experience, much of that having started my own business and actually led my own business. And I've also been a business coach, meaning that I've had to think and implement in practice many different monetization strategies to make money in the long term and maximize my revenue for my business, but also for hundreds and hundreds of my coaching clients with very, very different kinds of business, ranging from mobile apps to B2B businesses to software to anything else ranging online. So that's what the course is like. That's my background. And now let's begin. In this video, let's begin talking about your product pricing versus your LTV, lifetime customer value. If you keep this in mind, it's going to help you plan for better revenue sources and stronger revenue sources, because a lot of people focus on price, and price is very apparent and vivid, but it can be a vanity metric. For many businesses, a more important metric is LTV, lifetime customer value, how much you make from that client long term. The goal for most businesses is to turn people into long-term customers for years, not just to sell to them something now and forget about it. And clients become long-term customers for years when they buy and love the value they get. If they love the value they get, they're going to come back. If they don't love, they're not going to come back. And for you, you can think of it like if a person buys once, it's still pretty nice. But if they buy from you monthly, that's a 1,200% increase annually. And if they buy something next year and next year monthly, that's a tremendous increase in revenue from the very same client. And most first-time entrepreneurs, they focus on making more and more sales from new customers. But often it's easier to sell to existing customers and maximize the revenue you get from them long-term than to keep finding new customers. So during the planning, you really want to understand, how can I make the initial engagement easy, and what can I upsell long-term? And can I upsell long-term? Not every business is a fit for this. So let's talk about how to think about maximizing your lifetime value. Ideally, you can combine a situation where a potential client can have an easy entry into your business. Some people call that onboarding. Plus, what can they consume or buy long term? Those are your backhand sales. That easy entry, the onboarding, that can be in form of something free or some kind of a very cheap product. Online, you see this commonly with the freemium business model, where people give away a lot of free things, often digital products, because digital products have no cost to reproduce. And if the client likes the digital product, they might also buy more expensive products. So when you're thinking about, what can I sell to these people long-term? Think about the possibility and likelihood of long-term purchases. It may be that this is not possible. For some businesses, you just sell to clients once and that's it. In that case, you want to maximize the price. But if you can sell long-term, you want to think about, okay, I can decrease initial price by a certain amount, but what is the likelihood of people buying my second item, my third item? For some businesses, it's likely. For some businesses, it's less likely. And every situation is different. If you have historic data, like you've been in business for a while, you can take a look at your historic data and see how many people actually go on to buy a second and third purchase from you, so that you can calculate an actual percentage of people who actually go on to buy your second and third product. But if you're just starting out, you can estimate this and track it long-term. And anyway, always try to improve it. Whatever the historic data is, it doesn't mean that that's going to be what it's going to be in the future. In the future, you always want to improve your upsells.
Additional things to consider are benefits. For example, even if you sell something for a cheaper price, which might cut your profit in the short term, it might even make you unprofitable. You might lose money in the short term. But if it gives you better branding because people are actually engaging with your product, if you are not losing customers to your competitors, those are all benefits you can consider, because even if you lose money with the first purchase, you might make money with the third, fourth, and fifth sale to those clients. Additionally, this is how a lot of ads are run. A lot of ads, they are not necessarily profitable in the first sale, but if the company who's advertising can keep the clients long-term and has historic data on how many clients on average they keep long-term and how much clients spend long-term, then they know how much money they can spend on ads, even if they lose money on ads in the beginning. And of course, there's another side benefit. If you sell on platforms like Amazon, even like Udemy, like Etsy, sometimes having a lot of sales and a lot of activity boosts your ranking on those platforms. And that's something to consider when you're pricing your product, because if you boost your ranking on those platforms, you get more organic sales, which make up for the smaller profit margins if you keep your prices low. This is something you want to really keep in mind during the planning, because you want to think through what kind of offerings can I create to upsell? Is it possible? So sometimes it's apparent, and sometimes you have to think outside the box and always think about, well, at the end of the day, how does this work out financially? Because at some point you can no longer keep reducing price and you can't neglect profitability too long. So there's all these considerations. So these are all the things to keep in mind when you're thinking about your product price and how to earn the most amount of money from your clients long-term, which is your lifetime customer value, how to balance it all and how to get the best out of both of those.
In this video, let's go over a number of ways to extend your customer lifetime value. And it all starts with trust. Without trust, you have nothing, because quality of your product is everything. You can make one sale to somebody, you can kind of trick them, they can make a mistake, but once they use your product or service, they'll tell the real quality. If they love the quality, if they get a lot of value, then you can make more sales. They will come back. Happy customers return. Lukewarm or unhappy customers mostly do not return. So the quality is where you get to extend your lifetime value, and only after quality, that's the first thing to focus on, but only after quality, all these other things become available. And quality is a relative term. A lot of people will say, of course, my service or product is high quality, but it can always be better. Keep pushing to make your service or product better. We are all somewhere on the spectrum of quality, and we all need to push to the best of our abilities to make our products and services better. Having done that, once you have happy, engaged clients, you can begin to think of what to sell long term. The first thing we're going to cover is subscriptions. If you already engaging those clients long term, well, why not just offer them, hey, you don't have to buy again and again and again, just subscribe and we'll bill you regularly. This is how gyms work. This is how magazines used to work, through a subscription. And subscriptions are great because they can go on forever. The issue with subscriptions is that not everyone really wants to stay with your business forever. Some people are skeptical that, if I subscribe, I'm going to forget to unsubscribe. So maybe I just won't subscribe then, and then they don't subscribe. So it is a hard sale to make. There's some portion of the population who actually want to be subscribed. But there's some portion of the population that are the skeptics. They're worried that they're going to keep getting overcharged even if they stop consuming the service, like going to the gym. A lot of people stop going to the gym, still pay for the gym. So let's talk about how to solve that. The solution to the subscription skeptics is consumable products. These are products that people don't have to subscribe to. They just consume them all the time anyway. Food is a fantastic example. You went to the store, you bought some food, you ate it, you need to consume more food. You need to buy more food all the time. The same is true for clothing, just on a less regular basis. The same is true for a lot of services like lawn care or cleaning. If you provide a good service, the person who's hiring you is going to want to consume again and again and again. For some businesses, it's very natural, obviously, like food. For some businesses, it's not natural. For example, like me, if I'm selling a book, once a person buys a book, they're not going to consume that same book again. So in some situations, consumables are not an option. We'll talk about the counter to that in a second.
But the more you can align during the business planning for how you can create a product or service or a suite of products and services, some of which are consumables, that's fantastic. Because people will come back because they want to, and they're not going to have deterrent of the subscription. They're not going to be afraid of, well, what if I forget to unsubscribe? So that's why consumables are great. You see consumables also a lot in mobile apps and digital products. A lot of digital products you would buy on mobile apps are like points, extra lives, extra weapons. That's in like mobile app games or something like that, so that people can keep buying and buying and buying, and the mobile app developer doesn't have to spend any more money creating those products. So it's very prevalent in the online and digital world as well. Now, I mentioned a book cannot get sold again. That's fine. The same book cannot get sold again, but you can write another book and another book. Like I have a number of books on Amazon, and I have a number of courses on Udemy. There's a reason for that, because a lot of people buy more courses. If they love the first course they buy from me, they may buy another one. That's the entire goal, is for me to make courses that are so amazing that people will want more of my courses. That's my goal. And you see this all the time. Like if you go to a grocery store, you buy yogurt, guess what? There's blueberry yogurt, there's cherry yogurt, there's vanilla yogurt, there's chocolate yogurt, and they get me on this all the time. I leave the store and I'm like, I got 4 different yogurts because all of them looked pretty good. And that's the counter to not having consumables products. You can have a large catalog of different products. And of course, yogurts are a catalog and they're consumable, so they're really good. This can be great if your business can fit this, but it's not for every business, because sometimes you just want to sell something once and that's it. Let's say you sell something to tourists. They leave, they never come back. So you have to make sure you get the highest upfront price if there's no upsells, or if there are few upsells. That's when you focus on making the upfront price higher. And that's where negotiation might come in, and so on and so on. But I just wanted to give an example that the consumables and large catalog and subscriptions is not always available. There are some situations where it's not. Or there are some situations where the second sale might happen many, many, many years later. For example, like you're buying a car. I mean, the next time you buy a car is maybe 5 or 10 years from now. Of course, they're going to sell you accessories. Of course, they're going to sell you maintenance to make you spend regularly with them. But the car itself, you buy very rarely. Now, what happens if, let's say, you've exhausted your books? Let's say everybody has bought all your books. Like even I have like over 10 books on Amazon. What happens if a consumer bought all my books and wants more of what I have to offer? Let me introduce a solution for that. You can cross services, products, and affiliates. Let me explain to you what that means. For example, I coach people on how to start a business. During my coaching, sometimes people need a website. I don't create the website for them. I don't sell the hosting to them. But I promote an affiliate hosting company so I can collect a commission if my client buys that. And I partner with like a WordPress developer who gives me a commission if I refer their services. And during the coaching, I might sell some books to the client. I might sell services that I do offer, SEO services. I might sell courses and books and services. You see, so I can sell many, many types of things. More of my services, more of my products, different products. And if I cannot offer something of my own, like hosting, I don't provide that, then I use an affiliate so I can still earn revenue even though I cannot sell it directly. So how do you do this for your business? Whatever your business is, the answer to coming up with all the things you can sell to your clients is what can be next that they need. That can be the next thing that you sell. So think of their lifetime journey. Let's say they're learning how to cook. They need supplies. They need training. They need constant ingredients. They might benefit from being in a community. They might benefit from going to events. These are all things you can sell. So as long as you think about the customer journey, what they might need at any time, then you'll be ready to sell that. Not on day one, because it's not that easy to come up with all those offerings. Especially you have to make sure that the offerings are good. If they're not good, you're going to lose the customer. As soon as they buy something they don't like, they're going to go away. But as long as they keep buying something they love, it's the best of both worlds. They're getting really great value.
you're getting a long-term customer. Fantastic. With this video, let's begin our conversation about how to find the ideal price for your product, no matter what your product or service is. So, the first thing you should ever do is, even before you create your product, during the planning, you have to research your competition. Naturally, who gets into a business without knowing their competition? Now, when you research your competition, you will understand what the market prices are. Of course, there's the high-end sellers, there's the low-end sellers. You have to understand where you fit. Now, of course, you will see your offering as better than it actually is because you're not objective, it's yours. You're always more optimistic about what you're selling than your buyers are because they're totally subjective, they're totally objective, and not only that, they actually are a little critical because they just paid money for it, right? So they actually want to get not exactly what they paid for, but a bargain. They want to get paid better what they paid for. So there's a disconnect of how you would see your product versus how your consumers would see it. So understanding what the market pricing is helps you gauge what your initial price should be. Generally speaking, when you enter a market, most entrepreneurs think they are great, but again, there's a lot of blind spots. So generally speaking, you want to enter in the price at the low end of the market so you can be competitive. Because if I, let's say, make a competitor to some existing business and I'm priced the same or higher and I'm new, but that existing business has a reputation, then consumers will go to the business that's reputable. So even at the same price, if all else being equal, and even if I say I'm so great, customers will go to where the trust is. To win the customer over, you have to lower the price a little bit, which is very dangerous. You don't want to stay with lower prices all the time because that's going to cause market erosion because your competitors will see, oh, there's a new competitor in the market, you, with lower prices, so that person now has to lower their price. And then suddenly now you're the same price, but your strategy was to lower price, so you lower price, then they lower price, and there's a race to the bottom, which is bad actually for businesses. And in the short term, it's good for consumers, but in the long term, it's also bad for consumers because both of such businesses will go out of business and consumers will have fewer options. So the equilibrium of all is ideal. An equilibrium means that the companies will stay with prices that are ideal for them, that they can stay profitable and stay in business and pay their employees, all that. And at the same time, consumers aren't spending too much money as a part of their overall income. That equilibrium is ideal because in that you can have long-term stability and growth and have customer happiness and business growth. So the equilibrium. Now, when you do the price erosion, the race to the bottom, you lose that equilibrium. So you cannot have that as your strategy long term. Just in the short term, you have to be, generally speaking, most of the time, new entrants into the market, price low. As their offering becomes better, it gets improved, they start to price higher because now they start to have that little bit of reputation. They're also a little more reputable, but also the product is getting better. They know how to sell better. And so they start fitting into the market somewhere. They're in general no longer the lowest of the market. They're somewhere in between. And so the pricing will naturally fall somewhere in between. A lot of times people think I'm going to come up with a price for my product, but it's actually that you fall somewhere within a market. The market will dictate the price, and the market's already set prices for so many of your competitors. You kind of just have to see where you fit. And then you can go a little up and down, but the level of variation is actually surprisingly low in most cases. Now, if you're struggling to gain traction, to get customers, then you want to stay low and stay affordable. This is why you see a lot of startups, they sacrifice revenue for growth. As soon as you start charging, you naturally have fewer customers and users. When you keep your service or product free, you have as many people who can try your product or service as possible. Now, if you have investors, you can do that. But if you don't have investors and you're paying out of your pocket, then you have to start charging, but just cheaply enough so that you get the growth. And then ultimately, what you want to do is find the ideal price to demand ratio, right? A price where the demand is the biggest while you're making the most per customer so that your profit is largest. That, of course, augmented with how does competition play into this? How does customer happiness play into this? How does this get reflected in your reviews? So in a theoretical setting, there is an ideal price to demand, right? Demand price. But in the real world, every business has many additional unique factors that are unique specifically to their situation that will augment the price slightly, and you just have to roll with the punches a little bit to then eventually come up with the ideal price. And even though throughout the course we're going to add additional layers of complexity into how you should price your products, let's let this be the ideal set of theoretical foundation for finding your ideal price.
In this video, I want to walk you through a product that I sell, that I've been selling for over 5 years now, that I've actually sold for $20 back in the day and $5,000 at one point. And I used to not tell the prices, then I used to negotiate, then I used to let people name prices, then I used to set very strict prices without negotiation, all in an effort to try to find the optimal way to sell this particular offering. And now I'm pretty settled on this particular offering and the price structure, so I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened. So just to explain things, the page title says PLR courses. PLR stands for private label rights. This is when people come to me and they say, we want to take your courses and resell them on our site and private label them as our own. And you can see the prices are here. It's $500 per one course. If they buy a number of courses, the price goes down to $400 per course. And if they get like 100 courses or more, it goes down to $25,000. So one sale can be pretty significant. And on my end, of course, it took me a lot of time to create these courses, but at the same time, the courses are already made. It takes me a very short time to deliver these courses. So in the past, when people used to negotiate with me a lot and they used to say like, oh, I live in a country where the currency is not as strong and your prices are too high. Do you mind lowering the price? And they used to give me an offer. Like one time I even sold it for like $20 per course because that person said they're struggling. I believed them and I sold it. And I used to sell it for like $100 and so on. So very cheap prices when people negotiated. But of course, as you can imagine, it's nice to get extra money, any money, but really that's not my goal here, because my goal is to get the clients who really buy these. I appreciate all the clients, but really here is the goal. And in the past, when I went through a phase where I was experimenting with not showing my prices directly here, I was getting emails from all kinds of sales leads that just were not perfect because they were trying to find out, well, what is the price? And then they were learning the price and then they went kind of crickets, MIA. They disappeared after they learned the price. So I was basically setting myself up to waste a lot of time. So I ended up putting the prices here. And the other important thing that happened is with these higher end prices in this particular industry, this is on the high end of pricing, the branding here of me, this little image and the explanation of why the courses are the best and really the positioning here really allowed for a few times a year I get these kinds of clients, and that's the best, right? And just to finish telling you the story, when I wasn't telling the price transparently up front and I was negotiating a lot and trying to see to whom can I sell this for a higher rate, I did sell this once to a Fortune 500 company who paid like $5,000 per course because I just asked them what's their budget. They said $5,000. I said, okay, great. But at the end of the day, over a longer time span, that was the only client like that. And I wasn't really getting these clients. So this business wasn't as profitable until I, first of all, created the possibility, a direct stated point that, hey, you can have 100 courses for $25K, because before that, people didn't know it was an option. And for the right clients with deep pockets,
this is a great option, because if they want 100 courses and they're looking for 100 good courses, it's actually really hard for them to find. So making things transparent this way actually helped my business become way more profitable. And the business became more optimized because now I'm spending less time in negotiations. And there was one more thing I used to try to do that didn't work, and that is I used to ask people, what is your budget? These kinds of open-ended questions to find out, well, what's their budget? How much can they spend? And to be honest, that really left people, one, they didn't want to tell me because they know they shouldn't tell that kind of thing in negotiations, at least at first. And two, sometimes they didn't really know exactly. And that was making them confused, not sure. And that's one of the worst things that can happen during sales, because what you want to create is a really simple and easy sales path that has no confusion, in which after you answer all their questions, they can easily buy. So again, being more transparent with prices listed up front and a price tier for all potential clients ended up really effective. And every rare once in a while, somebody says, I want 1,000 courses. But again, it's the same person who wants 100 plus courses who would call me or email me, and we would start to discuss this. These are the people that I get on a sales call with. In fact, I suggest it when people tell me, hey, I want a large volume of courses, whether they want 100 or maybe they want 10 courses. If they need to get on a call, I get on a call with them. But even if they don't suggest it, I suggest it sometimes because I want to increase the chances of that sale happening. But when I talk to them, sometimes they say, I want 1,000 courses or 500 courses, which makes that potential client very, very lucrative. And of course, that means that that $25,000 price point is not the ceiling. I can still sell more when the right client comes along. So I'm not limiting myself by setting a ceiling on how much I can charge to the very giant potential customers. In this video, I want to introduce you to a strategy of using either the freemium business model or parts of the freemium business model. And what is this business model? Well, it's a very popular business model online, which is used very prevalently, and I'm sure you use it all the time when you're a consumer of things. So you get something for free, either free website, free app, free something, and then you get upsold something else. It's very common. The reason it's common online is because it's free to give away digital goods, articles, videos. It's essentially nearly free or free. So companies can give it away. For brick and mortar companies or service companies, it's a lot harder to give something away because it costs them money to create that and manufacture that. But in any case, if you cannot use the freemium model purely, which means giving something away and then charging for something else, you can use parts of the freemium model and then upsell. So the idea of the freemium model can always stay and can be used in any kind of business, because the great thing about it is that when you give away something for free, even something little, but it has to be something good, people can get a glimpse of the quality of what they'd be getting, because otherwise consumers, you don't realize this, but they are shopping blind. If they have to pay for something and they don't know what they're getting, you're immediately decreasing the conversion rate because they don't know what they're getting. A lot of them don't buy for that reason, and they don't take the first step because they have to spend money to know what they're getting. So when you're able to give away a little bit of something to give them a sense of what they'll get, and if they are impressed, this is very important, because a lot of people cut the corner here and say, well, I'm just going to give away something bad. No, don't give away something bad or low quality, because they're going to get a view of your business that it's low quality. Give away something that actually represents your business amazingly and really insightfully and shows quality, and then people will be much more likely to want more and to buy what you're having. Another benefit of this is that because you're offering something for free, you're going to be able to get all the traffic compared to some paid competitor that suffocates the competitors. Of course, this is harder because you can't even service a very large number of people if you have a physical product or a brick and mortar business, because there's just physical constraints. But it is possible to increase your current customer flow by doing something free. It's just that you have to be a lot more careful about what you do, because if you do give away something that costs money, you have to do it at a tiny loss.
So you got to be really careful. But if you can figure out what you can give away for free or extremely cheap, then you can reap the benefits of this freemium model. And even if people don't buy, there are actual benefits from them because they bring their friends, they might recommend your business, they might remember it, so it helps with your branding over time. And really, all that activity helps you in indirect ways and takes away that activity from your competitors. So you see, using elements from this freemium model can really help in a number of very strong ways.
There seems to be an endless debate about whether you should charge high prices or low prices. So in this video, let's talk about the philosophy of pricing, because this debate is a little overwhelming. Because a lot of people, they love to say, I charge high prices, premium prices, high ticket prices. I want to earn more. I want to charge more. I want to charge high ticket prices. There's a never ending, it seems like, number of terms people use for charging more because, they want to make more money. It makes sense. On the other hand, you see many big businesses, Amazon, Walmart, many websites where you can start as a consumer and buy very, very cheaply. And so the debate is always like, well, you have a widget. Should you sell this widget for a high price, make it a premium item, add some features to it, make it glossy, add nice packaging, premium? Or should you make it ubiquitous so that, okay, maybe you cut corners a little bit on the pricing, the cost of the packaging and the cost of everything else, and some of the materials won't be as good, but the price can be 3 times cheaper and suddenly the entire world can buy it. So I want to offer you some pros and cons and how to and when to go premium, when to not go premium. Of course, you will quickly recognize that, okay, Amazon, biggest store in the world, known for low prices. Same with Walmart, another very low store. If you want to look at real examples from successful companies online, other than Amazon, look at freelancing sites. Fiverr, start with $5. Okay, really, really, really discounted. And you can find such examples across the board, and you'll very often, most of the time, map a correlation that the biggest by market share is the company that charges low prices because they're able to have a bigger market, a bigger addressable market of people. More people can just buy it and try it. Even if you're a rich person, sometimes you get rich by being smart with your money and not wasting it. So you still want to try the cheaper or more affordable item, and if there is a better version of it, you might be happy to buy it after if the quality is good. So you want to try something. This is one of the core interesting things. You want to let people try something easy, cheap. You can have premium options, but it's important to also have that option, to give the option to potential customers to try for free or cheaply, just so they can see instead of having to trust you, because you live long enough and you've been burned long enough by trust me, it's good, and then it's not good, right? So as a consumer, you learn to be careful, and this is what you want to account for as a business, like the caution of the consumer. Let them try. Now, there are some times where high-ticket products are good. When you don't have a huge market. I have something that I sell, for example. I sell to companies courses that I can make for them custom create or license existing courses that I have. But there's not an unlimited amount of such clients. It's a B2B situation. And so my goal is to add polish, show that I'm the best course creator in this space, show that the courses come with all kinds of benefits like updates and other things, right? And so I want to dress up the product so that it stands head and shoulders above in perceived value, that people will be like, oh, the buyers, they'll be like, oh, this is really the only game in town. I got to go with the good option. And then suddenly you have the boutique option, the boutique meaning the higher end. But I also have an option for, just in case, an individual who comes to me and, from a couple of exchanged emails, I see that they're not going to be able to afford a really expensive item. I also have some options for them that are cheaper, so they don't lose on that sale, but that's a small option. Really, that kind of small market niche thing, high end. But if you have an opportunity to go worldwide, high growth, kind of ubiquitous, like, something that everybody can buy, or something used across the world, like a freelancing or products on Amazon, something widely consumed like that, then actually lower prices, it's not my opinion, it's something that's observable time and time and again, they are the better option. So this is how you want to think about, okay, not just like, I like the sound of higher prices, but when does each option make sense? In this video, I want to share with you a real case study from my own practical experience of when I had to decide, should I charge higher prices or lower prices, and how to work within the gray areas of it. So a long time ago, part of what I was doing was marketing consulting. I was going to companies and helping them with their consulting. Sometimes I would do their marketing, sometimes I would just create their strategies, whatever. And my fee for the initial session was something like $50, then I raised it to $100, which for a company that's low. So it sends a signal like, hey, kind of low value, right? Cheap, low value. This person is not good. But really, this actually was for me, this initial hour. The rest of my services weren't that cheap, but this initial first hour, that for me was actually a sales situation. The other person thought, well, I'll try it for an hour, $50 or $100. It's not a big deal for a company. They have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people on their payroll. They're paying up to millions of dollars in staff salaries, so $100 here is really nothing for them. And so it was easy to try for them. And they get a lot of value. When I came to their office, I didn't care if it was $50, because really, salespeople do this for $0, right? If you work for a company, you do sales, you do the same thing the first 15 minutes or 30 minutes. If it's a high value client, they do this for free. So I found a way to charge for it. Even though it wasn't much, for an individual business owner, it's something. At least you kind of don't feel like you're wasting your time, because when you're a small business owner, if you're wasting your time, well, that's a really, really valuable, expensive time. A few other things are moving forward. So you see, they thought they're getting a consultation, and they were getting the best possible consultation they can give them, because it's far stronger to tell them, hey, here's your entire marketing strategy. I've done the work, I've pre-planned it, I've thought about your industry, here's how it's going to work, compared to a salesperson going in and saying, here's what we'll do, here's what else we'll do. I've already done that work, right? So I came in stronger because I wanted them to hire me for the long term, a big contract. This $50 or $100, it's irrelevant and negligible. It's better to take it from me, of course. But people will tell me, hey, why do you charge? Like not my clients, not me, but my friends, I would tell them about it. They're like, oh, you lowballing yourself. You're charging so low. And yes, if that's all I was doing, I would be missing an opportunity, because bigger companies or even mid-sized companies or small companies, they can pay more. But that wasn't my strategy, right? I had a long-term strategy, or at least a mid-term strategy. I wasn't just thinking like transactionally, where a lot of people will put that pressure on you. Charge higher prices. No, it's really what works within your entire ecosystem of your sales cycle. If I had found that the $50 or $100 consultation wasn't effective, I would have stopped that. I would have been doing it for free. The reason for it actually was to decrease people who wanted everything for free and who would never pay. That's why you charge the nominal fee, so you save your time. As a salesperson, you don't need to do it as much, because you get lead vetting. There's a much more of a process within a company. You still waste your time with some people who would never buy, but for a small business, this is a bigger risk, and the consequences of this are bigger. So you have to kind of be a little defensive. But really, you see, I wasn't caring that much about, like, if it's a high value potential client, whatever happens in the first consultation doesn't even matter in terms of revenue for me. It's just the first consultation is really a sales situation, and you want to impress as much as possible. That's sort of the gray area of it, is that you can kind of play this game however you want to slice it, however makes sense for your unique situation. If the consultation, like I mentioned, wouldn't work for you, don't use it. And it's a lot of it is from intuition and experience, but also trial and error. A lot of experiments are easy to make. You offer 10 such consultations, you see the uptake, then you go, don't offer consultations, and you see how it works, and whether you get a lot of bad potential meetings that don't result in anything. You also see, hey, you kind of sitting there, better to sit there for $100 than for free. Your behavior changes, even though it maybe shouldn't, but it's you're human, it kind of does. And so all these little elements are at play in the real world. So experiment, and don't listen too much to external sources who don't know your real situation, but experiment a lot and get to know your sales process intimately, so that you can understand exactly which levers and which elements from different strategies to pull and use for your case.